Welcome back, everyone. I really appreciate you making it to the third episode in the ACE series. That feeling we had when we were children of magic, of Santa, of believing in the impossible. Some point as we got older, some of us forgot that potential. But I think where we forgot our potential, and I want you to remember the amazing ability that you have within you from the day that you were born is your uncapped potential. And I want to ask you, when did you let others choose what your potential is? Why can't you choose and control the limit of that glass ceiling? No one can cap you like you can cap yourself. And I want you to believe that. I want you to know that you can become and grow and you're not stuck. You know, it's interesting. We hear these concepts all the time. Manifestation, a miracle, an act of God. Someone must have cursed you. Oh, here is a potion or a spell. There's a divine forces that are working on your behalf. It is karma. There is a way in which we as humans have sometimes explained the unexplainable. But through thought and through belief and also capacity and also knowing that the dream is attainable, but the goals and the way in which you achieve it is what's going to be flexible. And that's really what we're going to be talking about. I want all of you to be able to form a mindset where no matter what happens in your life, no matter what gets thrown at you, what unpredictable things happen, where you know that you feel safe and that you feel that your potential and nothing is going to be able to put out your fire. Remember a time when you believed in Santa, you believed in magic, you believed in the Easter Bunny, but you believed somewhere around that time there was a part of you that felt like there was nothing that you couldn't do. You felt like you could become anything and be whoever you want. Sometime as we went through life, we forgot how to keep dreaming and we forgot the potential of our thoughts. And neuroplasticity is actually a really interesting concept. It's a newer thing in brain health, and it talks about how our brains can actually rewire itself, it can change, it can heal, and that like a dead brain cells aren't just forever. I mean, that's what they said back in the day. Don't smoke weed because your brain's going to be fried. Sure. Now, and your mindset is one of the biggest keys to unlocking that. And I want you to feel so secure in your potential and in where you're going that no matter what happens in your life, you won't give up and you'll be able to understand that you can achieve more. That no matter what is happening is going to be a cycle, but you can achieve anything that you put your mind to. And I want you to believe it's so hard that you can't even tell between if it's excitement or fear. I want you to believe truly in the potential of your potential. And the focus of all of this is to show you the power of thought. Through the power of thought, we're able to manifest and create and change the direction of our life. Some of you still believe that this is a bunch of bullshit. Some of you believe that this might be an impossible task and that you're never going to be able to get there. But the focus was to try to just be positive, maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours. Start with 20 minutes. But we're going to work on building these ideas and thoughts so that way them together will give you that confidence that no matter what happens in your life, nothing is going to stop you. And I want you to believe in your potential so much. And everything in this series is about making you believe in your potential. And there's going to be a lot of things that we tell ourselves and blocks that we have, mental blocks. And I want to work through those mental blocks and help you understand what those blocks are saying so that way you can listen to it and work through it and really truly believe in your potential. Because I think you have it. This episode really talks about the how. Now that we're realizing that there might be something that's blocking us, um, we realize that we need to figure out what that really is. And this episode will really talk about the how. So, the reason why I want to work with you and about letting go and learning how to kind of calm ourselves and do some meditations and some centering exercises in the next episode is all about part of this changing your mindset business. It's not fun. It's there's going to be a lot of just things that come up from ourselves. It's just going to kind of get in the way. So the goal is to calm our breathing, calm our bodies, and to feel safe within ourselves. So that way, as we're able to process and hear and listen, as these other overwhelming feelings come up, you're able to start from a more of a lower foundation of where you're not so stressed, you're not so agitated, where that new emotion is going to exacerbate anything else that you're feeling. The goal is to calm yourself down. Start not even at your center, but start just at Zen, at just as calm as you can or as close to as possible. That's easier said than done. So the goal is to do a few things that just get us moving. And there's a book, Atomic Habits, and just talks about stacking your habits. This is just kind of like stacking your thoughts. The goal will be to create some sort of framework between all the various parts of your consciousness and learn how to maybe just be in the center. I know that sounds probably a little hippy dippy, but realistically, it's been something that's been going on for a long, long time. I mean, this concept of our mind, realistically, I'm going to be talking about is more like mind and energy and just thought. But there's people like Freud and Carl Jung who talk about a psyche. There's people who are witches, or they're spiritual healers that talk about spirituality, and then there's people like Einstein that talk about levels of consciousness. Same with Carl Jung. I mean, Buddha talked about mindfulness, but there's other religions that talked about it as a spirit. I mean, realistically, it's this energy. No matter how you look at it, it's about learning how to kind of understand that void between kind of life and existence. And for me, meditation has really kind of helped me hear that. What I really want for all of you is to not just believe, but truly feel in your core. I talked about long-term, short-term memory. This is the feelings. This is the long-term. This is really at your core. You know that you and your potential, you can do more. And some of you might believe that, some of you don't. But what this series is just to show you that you can believe and that through your thought, you could truly manifest a different life and create a different life for you. So the first episode, we really kind of talked about the why, or figuring out maybe what might be going on, or just realizing that we're not stuck and we can change. Then the second episode really talked about what might be going on and how everything in our thoughts and our mind are really interconnected. And it focuses on what we'll need to do to change the mindset that we have. In the first episode, I talked about how I changed the value for myself or where I fit in. I didn't let society define me. And in that process, like in a game of blackjack, I chose that instead of being a 1 or an 11, I wanted to be a 6. And I chose that value. But that's the choice that I made. And I want to ask you, when did you let others choose what your potential is? Why can't you choose and control the limit of that glass ceiling? No one can cap you like you can cap yourself. And I want you to believe that. I want you to know that you can become and grow and you're not stuck. Let's look at the concept of falling in love. Let's talk about the moment that you get the news of even that you might have stage 4 cancer, or you get the news that someone passed away. These traumatic events, and even love isn't traumatic in a bad way, but it is life altering. And in those moments, we're able to manifest and change and evolve. And so neuroplasticity is interesting because it really shows that maybe what has happened in the past, maybe something that is trapping this dark and negative energy, but once we can release it, we can spend so much time containing it. And once it can finally pass through and reintegrate with the rest of us, that our bodies are meant to heal and to work again. Organizational self-efficacy is something I've learned in about 4 different studies and fields of psychology in the various classes. But for me, it was something that fundamentally changed the direction of my life when I learned about it in my late teens and early 20s. What it allowed me to do was it allowed me to create and believe in my own potential. And I was able to find other symbols and other reasons that validated what I believed. And I was able to, over time, create the life in which I wanted and I saw for myself at my core. But that took time. Over time, I became the biggest blocker of that because I didn't fully believe it. I kept thinking I was broken. I kept thinking that my anxiety wasn't fully integrated. I know it's something I'm going to always deal with, but ultimately I still gave it its power. I was getting in my way. And what I want you all to know is you don't have to choose the same path that I chose. And the information here is to hopefully for you to have that breakthrough and to understand that you're not stuck. And the moment you realize that you can create your own life, you can create your own potential, that no one can define that glass ceiling or what that value is for yourself. Only you can do that. Then I think we're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And you're going to start the next phase of how do you process that breakthrough? How do you process the fact that, hey, maybe I was part of the problem, but now how do I fix it? And that's what we're working towards. Now, just thinking I'm going to be rich doesn't mean you're going to be rich one day. But if you think that I am rich, I am going to be rich, is a different way of thinking. Because you feel rich, there are so many things in your life that you're going to see with the cup half full, that you're rich. You know, that way of understanding how you think and how you reprogram your brain to believe in yourself is really where I'm going to help break down the gaps, the concepts, and the things that just we tell ourselves sometimes that limit our own potential. So in the initial video, I talked about KPIs. KPI is a key performance indicator that we use in business. But the reason I brought that up is as we work into going into our own mind, the goal is to really be able to be in there and to listen to our feelings and thoughts and to not get distracted. You know, for me, with someone with ADHD, like my brain is always just bouncing, ping-ponging. And so a lot of what I had to do is essentially set pillars and give myself a framework so that way as I'm moving my thoughts, I'm literally just ping-ponging between them and I'm playing almost a game of catch between the various parts of my consciousness. Um, and what that's allowed me to do is instead of being using procrastination or adrenaline to really help focus me, I've been able to be more intentional with my thinking and allow me to really concentrate and allow myself to create new ideas and thoughts by controlling maybe the movement of them instead of them ping-ponging so much. And that's really taken a lot of work and a lot of effort. And that's really kind of what I'm trying to break down, what those mental steps and those blocks are. One thing I want you to understand and ask yourself through these, through this ACE series is it's really about understanding, where do you have just specific blocks or where do you have emotions or thoughts that are just stopping you from being in the present. And what this specific episode's gonna help with, the reason why I brought up KPIs in the initial video was key performance indicators. It's just to figure out how long, or it's a metric. And what we're gonna do is in the next video, it's all going to be about just various exercises that we're going to use to calm ourselves down and also to center us with ourselves. So that way we're able to be present. But for that, we have to learn how to use our mind and use some of the tools that we were born with. And for that, it's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel like something we really don't want to do. You might just feel your shoulders clenched, your arms crossed. You just, if it feels forced, just take a break. Because realistically, what we're going to work on is about just shutting everything down and getting into our own selves. So there's a concept that when I was younger, I learned, and it was one of the driving forces that helped me realize that I could really create the dreams and the vision that I had for myself. But realistically, that wasn't as easy as saying that I was going to be rich and I became rich. It was more the fact of I was going to be healed, that I wasn't broken. I was going to be strong and I wasn't going to feel weak. I wasn't going to have a panic attack. I was going to stay in control. It's as simply as switching the way in which we look and think about something can really help us change the direction of those thoughts and the power in which they have in us. In the first example, in the first episode, I talked about how I changed the value for myself or where I fit in. I didn't let society define me. And in that process, like in a game of blackjack, I chose that instead of being a 1 or an 11, I wanted to be a 6. And I chose that value. But that's the choice that I made. And I want to ask you, when did you let others choose what your potential is? Why can't you choose and control the limit of that glass ceiling? No one can cap you like you can cap yourself. And I want you to believe that. I want you to know that you can become and grow and you're not stuck. So for the next video, so please come comfortable, come ready to kind of work in entering our mind, and we're going to work on some mindful meditation type. The goal is to be able to access our mind, go into that void between the emotions and feelings, and this is the transition video between the last two and this one.